I've rebuilt myself in prison. And one of the things that I do is that I try to give back, because I can't change what I did, but I can change who I am and how I deal with life. And so the way that I can make amends, so to speak, is by giving back. And I give back to other people, and I give back to the community. And one of the things that I do is I'm a PREA peer educator. And PREA is the Prison Rape Elimination Act. And what I do is I serve the inmate population to provide them with information to keep them safe, and information so that they know what to do in case they're sexually assaulted. Well, on a weekly basis, I teach workshops to fellow inmates to educate them about sexual violence in detention. The workshops cover ways to keep them safe, to keep their eyes and ears open, to keep them out of dangerous situations, and ways to keep them healthy should they be sexually assaulted, make sure that they get medical care, to let them know what will happen if they choose to report a sexual assault, and what to expect. And that there's somebody that if they can't figure out what to do, how do I report this, what do I do, and they're a little freaked out, they have me and several other women as contact people so that we can reiterate the information, because sometimes their minds just completely go blank when something awful has happened to them. And so I'm one of the people who's been in this community for a longer period of time. Many of the women know me, and so they look to me as a leader, and look to me as somebody that they can go to for information, and so that's what I do. As a survivor of rape in prison, of being sexually assaulted in prison, to be able to talk about it and not sit in those feelings any longer, and to be able to use those experiences to help the next person so that they don't have to go through a lot of the hard parts that I went through as we were trying to establish better procedures for reporting and for holding the officers accountable, to be able to reassure them that these procedures are in place, that there are ways to keep them safe before something happens, to prevent something from happening, but also that there are procedures in place that if something has happened, to make sure that the staff members held accountable, to make sure that medical care is given, to make sure that the victim is not re-victimized and is respected and doesn't have to live in fear. And to be able to make sure that the next woman doesn't go through what I went through is really, really empowering. I feel like, okay, there was a reason why I went through that, because that's somebody's sister, their daughter, that's somebody's mother, their aunt, somebody's friend, and I wouldn't want that to happen to anybody that I cared about. Before PREA, inmates were looked at as liars. Anytime that you would try to say, hey, something is not right, something is going on, there's inappropriate conduct, whether it's inappropriate flirting or a sexual assault or an actual rape, the inmates were looked at as, you're lying. And you had to prove that something happened to get anybody to do anything. As opposed to after PREA, every report is taken seriously. The inmate is not re-victimized in just trying to make the report. Before PREA, the first thing they did was they slapped the handcuffs on you and took you off to jail and prison, ostensibly for your protection. And again, the inmate was treated like they had done something wrong. And now that's the absolute last resort, and it really is only if it's truly for your protection. Before PREA, the atmosphere was, the women were completely disrespected by male and female staff. The derogatory comments, the sexual comments, everything was just completely out of control. And now we have an atmosphere of zero tolerance. We have really good staff that works in the investigative services unit who is very approachable, who you can have difficult conversations with without having to feel like you need to take a shower. The atmosphere is much different. My work as a peer educator has increased my ability to interact with staff and has made my interactions with the staff much more productive. I'm seen as somebody that staff will actually send inmates to, and I'm seen as much more reliable and stable, and so it's all been a very, very good thing.
I chose to become a leader instead of a follower. I'm in here for being a follower, and I feel that I was arrested when I was 18 years old. And when I came to prison, the leaders that they had weren't good examples of the prison community. And when it was time for me to change as a person, I had no one to look up to. So Erica, I brought Erica on board because she's young. She's who I was. And I decided that it's a good thing to give another person a chance at something positive instead of something that's negative. The more she teaches classes, the more she learns that it's time to go home, it's time to change, it's time to grow.
Being a peer educator now has opened my eyes to a lot of different things now, which before I was one-track minded. I was just worried about me and just me. Like, being a peer educator now and educating myself is helping me to give back to other people, to being able to facilitate classes, to watch her, like, and how she conducted her classes and interact with people, you know, so I would get my own feel for how, you know, I can do it or whatever. It has gotten me on a totally different path now, because me being young and coming, I got 40 years to life, so me coming with the time that I have, I had no idea how to deal with it, how to work with it, how, you know what I mean, just to do my time, period.
I know a lot of staff from getting in trouble, from being violent. You name it, I was doing it. And so when PREA gave me a chance to become a peer educator, it was a new, like I said, I become a new person. I respect myself, I have more confidence, more self-worth, and I walk around here with my head high, and I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to make changes in the world. I'm just ready. I'm ready. I'm ambitious. And the staff here look at me now like, oh, really? You know what you're talking about. And, you know, now they send people to come talk to us. It's just, it gave me a new life.
I think the PREA peer educators that we have assigned right now have been outstanding. And I think it's beneficial because inmates can talk to other inmates at that level. They understand that they're there to make the PREA program, that it exists within this institution, who to go to, you know, they're not out there solving crimes for me, they're not out there doing that. But they're a good liaison to other inmates because other inmates can trust them. I can see where a lot of authoritative figures think that giving an inmate that type of leadership, it isn't necessarily leadership. It's mostly, like you say, peer educator. It's just someone talking to their peer. They're not out there preaching something else. They're not out there necessarily starting gangs and doing all this stuff. They're actually trying to help. The peer educators that we train, or that are trained by JDI and trained under this PREA program, have the maturity enough to know. And we have such a diverse group, whether have been victims or not been victims, but they're mature enough to handle that. And it is a positive thing. I think it brings out their positivity, so when they eventually go out to society, they can actually help. You know, we have ones that have graduated from the PREA peer education program and have paroled and have done very well. So I think it's a very good tool. You know, and as liaisons for you, you know what's going on in your prison. They're not necessarily snitches, but that's, you know that there's misconduct going on. You know that there are certain individuals out there that need to be locked up better, or that are predators, or that are preying on the weak. So I think it's a very positive program that any institution at least try.